Merry Christmas from our studio to your house. This is the Truth Hurts Show. Today we have Mark Bishofsky. I just said Mark Schweddy with the Schweddy family recipe.
Schweddy balls?
Schweddy balls. Well, when Dawson makes a change to our intro, you know, it's usually like kakoosh, kakoosh. You know, it's like, yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, and here it is nice and light. Soft. I'm like, it throws us off. And by the way, you just showed it to us 2 minutes before we went live. So it's like, what am I going to do with this?
It's holiday season, man. It's fitting. It's a little soft for this program, but yeah, I'm happy to be here. Last minute commentary I'll offer.
You're a busy guy. You got like 3 different jobs.
Yeah, and I do have to.
Pierre Corey now,
I
right?
do have to plug. So I was granted time off from one of my jobs to be here today. So I want to plug that at some point today. We'll do that when.
Hold on, I think people know you're working for Dr. Pierre Corey, right?
Dr. Corey's telehealth clinic. So Dr. Corey, if you're not familiar with Dr. Corey, he's the maverick. He spoke at the congressional hearings, the Senate hearings. He just wrote and published The War on Ivermectin, how we could have ended the pandemic, scamdemic. He's really on the forefront of this battle, and now he's taking care of people that have been injured by vaccines, COVID long haul, all kinds of, you can get meds on hand. drpierrecorey.com. Definitely check it out. The guy's amazing, and I'm blessed to be there, working there, and to be granted the time off to be here.
Yes, and we also have a special guest reading your comments today. If you're on Rumble, Facebook, or YouTube, is none other than the tyrant himself, Tim Walls. Thanks for being in studio here, Tim Walls.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
He doesn't say anything, though, by the way. That's our 2021 State Fair thing, and that's what the State Fair stole. They said, you got to take down your sign. I go, why would we take down our sign? It's offensive to the governor. I go, thank you. That's exactly what we were going for. I'm glad it was noticed. And we're not going to take it down free speech because the State Fair is kind of a quasi-private organization, but they're on state ground. You know that? Your taxpayer money goes to fund the Agricultural Society of Minnesota or whatever the hell it is. And so it's state taxpayer ground. And the book of law that says that you can have free speech on public ground is really large. So they ended up stealing our sign. We sent them a threatening letter from our lawyer, and eventually they messed with us again.
Are you sure it was the State Fair people?
Well, here's what I think. I've had a pretty good relationship with the State Fair front office. I'm guessing someone on the board got pissy and told them to do that. So, but we already got a lot of comments. JM Teddy saying hi, frustrated as fuck. That's good. I like that. That's a good one. Based Minnesota says, yes, Bishofsky, time to ladle the gravy.
Ladle the gravy, yeah.
Tucker, one of our best fans, always there. Brad Ganser, Napkin Nader, Timmy's eating all the school lunch. And Patriot Hack. Let's not forget Timmy Walls' net worth was $400 million 3 years ago. Not at all true, unfortunately. That'd be hilarious if it was, but no, he is not worth $400 million. He's basically, Tim Walls is actually homeless. Did you know that? So when they redesigned, you and I are on the hook for his mansion upgrades, and they are now forcing us to pay for his current home, which is the former president of the University of Minnesota's home. I think it's, what is it, like $4,000 a month? It was going to be like $17,000 a month, whatever it is, because he sold his home in southern Minnesota as governor. He owns no home. He is literally on public housing. Tim Walz is on public housing. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's not the craziest thing if you're in the military, right? But he's literally doesn't own homes. So no, he doesn't. He's not worth $400 million. Of course, Elon Musk, does he own a home? And he's worth everything. So odd one. I see Timmy on X, and he's always bragging how the policies put in place are helping us. Yeah, yay, except for the ones who have to pay for them. Yeah, exactly. I agree. Patriot Hack, do the research. This came out, discovered 3 years ago. It is not worth $400 million. All right, you post a link in there. Prove me wrong on that one.
That'd Timmy's worth $400 million?
Yeah, it's not worth $400 million.
He's not in Congress. He couldn't have gotten that much money.
Well, I mean, if he was worth $400 million, there'd be a lot of questions.
He was in Congress, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in Congress.
So that's where he got his millions.
You know, in Congress, he was on the resolution that praised the WEF and the works of Klaus Schwab.
Well, isn't he working for the Chinese.
He's spent a lot of time traveling to China. Now I got a
Yeah.
good Patriot friend that's spent time in China. But that Patriot friend of mine does not adopt Chinese policies. Tim Walz does.
Yeah.
So it's a valid point.
I think
We're already derailed. We got important stuff to talk about today. We're going to get into the Flag Commission, the racial tensions you didn't see. Then we're going to talk about if we can't agree on a flag and a seal, how's this country going to fare when, let's just use a hypothetical, Mark. Let's say a major state in the union decides the leading presidential candidate can't be on the ballot. Just a hypothetical.
Imagine if that would ever possibly happen.
Not in my America. Oh, my God.
So that's going to go to the Supreme Court, huh? Have you guys already talked about that on the show?
No, it broke yesterday, I think. So, and by the way, we didn't even have the video that we're going to show you today because it just finished by the time we went live on air. So when we do 2 shows a week, that's the problem. If you guys want to interrupt us anytime and have our comments read by Timmy Walz or myself, hit the Rumble rant and we'll put you on the show. Don't let the streak end. The streak's going strong. Hi, Rodeo 55. Running the dials, Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson. How you doing, Dawson?
I'm doing good. Today's leg day, and I'm pumped.
Leg day, and he's pumped.
I actually learned that my gym is open Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. So.
No kidding.
Oh yeah.
Did you just start working out when you met Jake and the gang?
I started working out in April of this year. So a year into working at this place.
And was it the influence of working here that got you pumping iron? Or?
It had nothing to do with anybody here, and it had everything to do with girl
I
problems.
just feeding
Beg to differ.
You're just feeding into Brad Ganser's comments. I mean, my God. But, I did take him lifting when we were in Vegas.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. If it was
for a beginner, it was pretty damn impressive.
Oh, you should see me
not
now.
weight-wise, but like technique, But now he's actually doing shoulder presses that I would say are pretty
Deadlift, cringe. No way.
Deadlift Dawson. I like it.
Shit! Brad Ganser reminds us of the feats of strength. We should have done a Festivus episode. By the way, 100th episode coming up next week. I think we're either doing Thursday night or Friday during the day. So huge episode. Let us know if you want to see
So that's
someone
an
on the
evening
show.
show. I got to get my schedule prep for that.
Yeah. By the way, guess who's coming on the show for the first time in a long time? I heard Liberty Longbeard might be back on the show.
Oh.
So there will be wings in the studio.
Does
Wouldn't that be
everybody
great?
get wings?
Awesome.
I haven't confirmed that, but it sounds like that's probably going to happen. Okay, let's get into this redesign. I'm sorry. What are we, 10 minutes in the show? We haven't even talked about it. Redesign. Go to actionforliberty.com. Just threw up an article here. This is Melissa Hortman and Tim Walz who voted to change the law. See, now that's the old symbol, the old seal, and then it was in the middle of the flag.
This is altered.
It is altered.
This guy is supposed to be white, isn't he?
He's tanned.
Okay.
Working in the fields.
He's plowing the fields barefoot.
Yeah.
This is the racial undertones, right? This is supposedly making Indians bad. Brad Ganser, $10 for the Liberty Wings Fund.
Nice.
Yeah.
Brad, I appreciate that. The wings are going to cost more than $10. Just so you know.
That's like 8 wings there.
That's like not going to cover, Tushi's wings. But thanks. That helps contribute to the Wings Fund.
I'm gonna need a fat hundo for all the wings I can eat.
And we need to get a couple dozen because I believe he's only flats.
He is
Why
only
does
flats.
he do that?
I don't know. Why would you? I mean, who
That's so
likes the
dumb.
flats versus the meaty part? I don't know.
Tucker says that blue thing you were all wondering was a tree stump with the axe. Yeah, now I know because this one is a little bit more defined.
Yeah.
I think someone maybe tweaked it. I think you're right because on the map or the flag it wasn't so good.
Yeah, this isn't exactly what it was, but
Because the other one looked like a big blue bag. Anyhow, this is racist. Aren't you guys triggered? Right? Hey, zoom in. I want to show you because I actually kind of worked on that image, so it got rid of the seal on the bottom. That's why you don't see plowed signs. You see the person who drew it? Look at the foot of the Indian. Sorry, American Indian.
Uh-oh.
Oh, nice.
Like
see
what? That's such amateur hour there, right? But who knows what they used in 18 whatever to create the thing. Oh man, I'll tell you what.
Tucker says he's triggered by the new flag.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Can you even possibly be triggered by the new flag? Razzle Dazzle, good to see you over there. Oh, Razzle Dazzle's calling us greedy for asking for more. I'm just being honest with you. Tushy eats way more than $10 in wings. That's in our rider contract with Tushy. All right, so this passed in the legislature. We kind of looked at this, and no one really actually showed what the law says. So we just posted the law. This is in section 62 of the chapter 62 of Minnesota law, and this passed by the Democrat legislature. Now, first of all, it's because it's racist that we need a new sign. All right. So it says that there's a redesign commission. It's been established, and they owe to the legislature by January 1st, 2024, the new flag, a new seal. Okay. So then they go through in subdivision 2 the membership and then the meetings. And so basically they need 3 members of the public, a member appointed by the Council for Minnesota African Heritage, Latino, Asian Pacific, 1 member representing the Dakota community, 1 member representing the Ojibwe community, Secretary of State or his designee. They got a couple honorary positions, basically non-voting if you look at section 10B, and that's non-voting members, which includes a member of both parties, basically. Okay. And those were made by August 1st. Now, in the Senate, it's Mary Kush, whatever her name is, and then Steve Drazkowski is a Republican. And in the House, Freiberg and what's his name from down south?
Freiberg.
Bjorn Olsen. That was a Republican on there. And then they got to have meetings, duties. So here's the big key thing, and this is what you're going to find out. If you look under subdivision 4 duties, I think it's the second sentence. The designs must accurately and respectfully reflect Minnesota's shared history, resources, and diverse cultural communities. Symbols, emblems, or likeness. Oh, is that a period? Okay, so third sentence. Symbols, emblems, or likenesses that represent only a single community or person, regardless of whether real or stylized, may not be included in a design. Okay, so that is basically setting the table for what we're going to show you here, the heat and the racial flamethrowing at the commission. So then they owe a report to the legislature, and from what we understand, the legislature could still veto this. I suppose it would be just an act of the legislature.
Is that 2/3 then to veto?
Well, I don't think so, and I didn't see it spelled out in this section. But if it was created by the legislature, they could repeal it, and you'd imagine Governor Walz could then repeal that decision. So I guess technically, if you don't like the flag, there's a chance that it could still go away. So here is video you probably haven't seen, and this is courtesy, I think, Fox 9 that was on site doing it. So there's Steve Drazkowski concerned about, I don't know if I think they said stars, but I don't think it's stars that are around the seal.
Currently, I've seen nothing on the edge, so it must just be.
I can pull it up.
Okay. But whatever it is, they want it equal 98 because it's 87 counties, 11 tribes. So Draz makes the argument, well, if you say 11 tribes, there are other people that recognize themselves as tribe, and it's really hurting like the Dakota tribes or people that consider themselves part of the Dakota thing. We always got to be careful here if this is the most up-to-date, by the way. But I think they're referring to the hash marks and maybe even the blue as well, okay?
I'm not sure. This does not look like the most recent one, but the only design.
Well, that's
changes I've
definitely
seen
not.
are these dots going away.
Yeah, that's definitely not because they adopted a and this is the other contention is they adopted a Ojibwe term, I think, some Indian term.
So that flag right there that he's got his mouse on, that's the new flag, right?
The top right, yes.
So the seal will be added to that?
No, the seal is something separate.
Yep.
It just so happened that the seal, I think, also was in the previous flag.
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, but that's not the case in a lot of things, right?
I'm looking for
click on that one right there, Dawson.
this one here.
Yeah, what does that one show? The other thing you could do is you go to the commission's redesign site.
I mean, they've only spent $35,000 on this. I mean, what a waste. But at the same time, when I found that out, I'm like, that's not a lot of money. Usually the government wastes many more thousands.
Right.
So $35K is, though it's $35,000 wasted, at least it's not $35 million.
I know it's actually kind of shocking, but I mean, every dollar counts, right?
Yeah, it's just not necessary.
So, Dawson, I think those yellow hash marks, I mean, we'd have to manually count or do like a quarter of it and see.
Yeah, so
multiply by 4.
it's the hashes around here, I assume, and then here are the blues are the counties, is what I'm pulling from it. But I'd have to do a little bit.
All right, well, let's get into this video here. Enough beating around the bush. This is how this went down here during the committee hearing on 11, or I mean Tuesday.
People recognize how many counties are there. 87 counties. So we're going to add, I'm trying to catch up with the discussion here, but we're going to add the 11 Indian tribes. Is that tonight 98? Is that what
That's correct.
was discussed?
That's what it was.
So that's only going to confuse Minnesotans, not help them understand the number of counties. This would make the, what is a Dakota seal now, even more indigenous than it is now. And members, we're adding more division to these items than we are unifying approaches. And I've seen this throughout this process. It's perplexing. We've taken input from Minnesotans and we've ignored it. And there seems to be this effort to establish some sort of racial identity in these two items that we have before us. And that is expressly what the law says we shouldn't do. But this group has done it anyway. Instead of having something that is unifying, we're doing something that is divisive. Something that is identifying one race over all of the races in Minnesota. Raising one race above all of the races in Minnesota. That's wrong. Most people would say that what we have in the seal is racist, and it's certainly illegal. So members, I encourage us, if we're going to put the counties around, put 87 counties. There's 87 counties in the state of Minnesota. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, stop right there. Now, responding to this is a representative, and I'm trying to find this out. Dr. Bean, she holds I think she goes by she.
Yeah,
Yep.
good.
Okay, she.
Know.
She's obviously on the left. That's what we know. Okay, and probably part of the reason this even started. This is really. Let me just be honest. This is what's angering Republicans and conservatives, right? Is that they're so sick of the left changing everything, tearing down Civil War era statues, changing, like Bud Light going woke. This stuff pisses people off.
What, tampons in the boys' bathrooms
Tampons
on
in the boys'
January 1st?
bathroom.
That bothers you, Jake?
Every tradition out there. So then you mess with the flag, which I think most of us can admit the flag wasn't the best looking thing. We actually, the image we got on the wall over you, that actually makes the flag look not so bad, but that's not the flag, right? Like, there's no Minnesota.
I had no problem with the old flag. To me it was just fine.
Well,
but
that's clearly you're racist then, right?
obviously I must be.
She holds a BA in American Studies and a PhD in American Studies from the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. She's the director of Native American Initiatives at the Minnesota Historical Society. She's some professor. I assume it's Indian Studies. I have to assume so. And probably not the cool type that you go talk to before you go find the treasure hidden in South Dakota.
Yeah.
You ever see, what was that, National Treasure, the second one?
I haven't.
Oh, that's awesome. They go find this treasure buried in South Dakota, and they refer to his wife, who is a professor of American Studies. She translates it. Bit of a movie buff here. All right, so let's hear her response to Senator Steve Drazkowski.
Dr. Kate Bean.
Thank you, Chair. First off, we're not Indians. The legal term for us in this country is American Indians. We're not one people, and we're not a race. We have tribal sovereignty. We're independent nations. with our own tribal governments, 11 tribal governments within this state. And within 574 tribes, when I used to work at the Minnesota Historical Society, we reached out to tribes in Minnesota. We would send 23 notices. And today I'm wearing jewelry by a Ho-Chunk and Dakota artist. I'm wearing a skirt by an Ojibwe artist. All of these are people with ties to Minnesota. And I'll just, just state here that to say that we're creating division by our presence being here today and by us speaking, that in and of itself is racist. And I think we need to remember that American Indian people, Dakota people, Ho-Chunk people, Ojibwe people, Sac and Fox, Iowa, there's a number of different tribes who have connections here in Minnesota, but there are 11 tribes of Dakota and Ojibwe ancestry who are in the state and have lands here today still. My tribe is in South Dakota because my family was removed, because we were literally chased out of this state by Henry Sibley, who created this flag and seal. And so I will not be quiet, and I will not be afraid that my presence causes discomfort, because all I want is for my children to feel comfortable in the state of Minnesota, their home territory. Pirame.
And the home territory of my children too, by the way, but that's probably not recognized. There was a legislator retired, Carlos Mariani, and it was at and he's from St. Paul, and he retired the last legislative session. Okay, so 2022, and before he spoke on the House floor in his retirement, because usually the legislators give someone a time to give a retirement speech. He says, first I must recognize that I am not on my land. It's on land from whatever tribe or something like that. I'm like, oh my God, it's the whole. And by the way, when what she's saying is just full of bits and pieces that I find so hypocritical, because the Indians are all one people when it suits their need, right?
Right.
But here, no, we're like 574. She literally says, we sent out, when we want to talk to tribes when I was with the historical side, 23. So here's the argument. Is there 23? Is there 11? Who's the 12 that aren't getting recognized, and 11 that's added to 87 counties? Oh, my God.
So she contradicts herself. Her notion makes no sense.
And Draz just sits there and takes it. She's basically calling him a racist. She's basically saying, and I will not. And I love that. That's the left. I just love these warriors here. I will not stand by and take this stuff from you
Did he
guys.
not retaliate then?
No, he didn't say anything. It seems like, I don't even know how Draz got placed on this committee. Like, did he volunteer to do it? Or did they hate him so much up at the Senate?
I was curious, Jake, about what that on the seal, the Dakota phrase itself, this thing right here.
Yep.
So this is where Minnesota gets its name, is from this phrase.
Right.
And it's kind of badass. Minnesota's derived from the Dakota phrase Minnesota Makot something. Land where the waters reflect the clouds and people's roots here remain strong.
Yep.
How sick is that? That's so cool.
I know. Like I said, I'm not completely hating on it, and you can't ignore the fact there's an Indian population here either.
It
right?
does look kind of
sorry,
a little
I'm
bit.
sorry, American Indian.
It does look
American.
a little bit.
The
Native
dumbest
American
correction ever.
Indian.
I'm only opining on the stupidity of what she's saying, right? On some of the things she's saying. Some of the points she made actually make sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but it does seem to be against the spirit of the law having the Dakota phrase on there. I think I said Ojibwe before, Dakota phrase. But then again, it is where the word comes from. I mean, where do you think South Dakota and North Dakota got their name from, right?
I mean, but like on the American dollar, doesn't it have like Latin and stuff? So.
Yeah.
But this is not the redoing the American dollar. This was what was they're just making an argument what was passed in the statute here.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
so
okay.
they're recognizing an Indian tribe, but what about the other Indian tribes? What about the different, a lot of Somalians here, but of course we could talk about the
Well,
flag design.
I think that aren't they more, specifically with the phrase itself, aren't they more so referencing where Minnesota gets its name from? So would we have to change Minnesota's name to also not reflect the Dakota people? I don't know. It's a slippery slope, I think.
It is. Now, once again, I'm going to go back to we're here. So I started this week out, Mark. I'm just going to be honest. I started this week out. I saw the news stories on this thing. I didn't care too much. And then things blew up.
Yeah, they blew up for me. You saw Establishment Pawn came at me. He called himself. So I made a post that I'm like, wow, this looks, and I actually copied the post from Walter Hudson's Twitter feed, and it was just like, hey, this flag looks a lot like a flag from one of the states in Somalia. And like, I don't care. I love the Somali people I work with, and I know there are a lot of people out there that think we should just remove all Islamic people from this country. That's fine. You can have your opinion. But the people I work with, they're good people. They're nice. I have nothing against Somali people. But the fact that we have this flag now that really looks like a Somali flag was interesting to me. And then I get called out on Facebook for that I'm whipping people up over nothing by an establishment pawn, is what he called himself.
Okay, well, you seem rather bothered by this, but I just meant the fact that didn't you have a ton of comments on your?
There were like 300 comments.
Right,
I mean,
and
went pretty
that's what I was
viral.
seeing, all this noise about this stuff, and I guess, yeah, you're right. If you got an establishment pawn firing back at it, why is all this heat happening, right? Like, I'm just like, this is shocking to me. I started out this week not really understanding it, and then we're like, well, we got to talk about it on Tuesday's show, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I fully grasp it. Now, to me, it makes all the sense in the world. It's just the conservatives in this country are sick and tired of the left getting any bit of power and changing everything. And for that, they got a damn good point, right? You can't have a Civil War monument, right? You got to get rid of Stonewall Jackson. You can't even have our founding fathers because they owned slaves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they literally would like to throw out the Washington Monument. They want to throw out the Jefferson Monument. You can't have all that kind of stuff. You can't have Christopher Columbus. A guy tears down Christopher Columbus statue, doesn't get replaced, right? Then you get into corporate America. They replace the traditional stuff at Target with woke tuck your balls in your swim trunks, right?
I bought one of those.
How's that working out, Mark?
There's a curveball we didn't see. Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch, one of the old American companies. I know they're owned now by a foreign conglomerate, but great American roots. And then they go woke. People are getting so sick of this shit that the flag is, in my opinion, a symptom of that. There was nothing wrong with the flag. It wasn't good looking. I can't imagine someone actually looks at that flag and goes, that's a great flag. And by the way, flags should be simple, right?
Yep.
I always liked Alaska's flag. That one always made sense to me. I love Alaska's flag.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Oh, look it up. It's
I haven't
the constellation Ursa Major.
Oh, shit. That's...
It's part of it to me is like, is it literally just to create some division? I can't believe they would do this just to piss people off, but it is.
But no, the
just
roots
pissing
make
people off.
sense. If it's got racial undertones, it's got to be replaced.
What's
Mark,
racist
you're so
about it?
bigoted. How could
What
you
is
think that?
racist about our old flag? I want to know.
Well, let's go back to that emblem here. Clearly, this is racist.
What? There's a Native American riding a horse? That's racist?
Well, here, okay, so let's go back to the emblem real quick, and then we can show Alaska flag. Go back to the emblem on the article. I know I got a big X on it, so you're not seeing the clean one.
Sorry.
Unless you can find a good one. K-Wall for life. In honor of our faithful friend Leo crossed the Rainbow Bridge this morning. I don't understand the reference. Leo? What does that mean?
Leo.
Just a friend of yours at Leo? Well, hi, Leo. Congratulations crossing the Rainbow Bridge. I don't know what that means.
Doesn't that mean you died?
I believe so.
Oh,
Oh, my God.
look at it. Okay, this is actually another case in point on what I'm trying to make. The rainbow used to mean
They
that kind of
stole
stuff.
the rainbow.
And my head just goes right to LGBTQ, right?
I think your brain's just on LGBT.
Oh, shut up.
stuff.
My kids.
No one cares, Dawson.
When my boys were 6 years old, they loved rainbows. And like, you can't have rainbows, son.
Exactly. It just went right over my head right there. Yes, a clear innuendo to someone passed on, and my head was instantly like, are you like, throwing like a buddy under the bus? Like
Pat died.
He did something. Yes, I got it. Oh, Pat died. Oh, Leo, so you're faithful friend too. I missed that one. Boy,
Yikes.
don't trust me to do a show today. Faithful friend, man's best friend. Got it now. Sorry, K-Wall. God bless Leo. This feels so bad. I'm kind of curious what kind of dog you had too, by the way.
I'm trying. Why is it
If it's a Labrador, I'll really lose it.
Okay, here we go. I got it.
Okay. Yeah, Rodeo's like, quit being woke, Jake. There you go. This is the flag.
Oh, that looks so dumb.
It's dumb, but it's not.
But what's racist about it?
Here's what they allege, okay?
Yeah.
By the way, how many versions of this thing are there?
I was just browsing through it. Everything's different colors. Everything's different. Like, I can't find an official one anywhere.
It was a Cairn
Well,
Terrier.
here's the problem I have is the green. So the beavers have dammed up that water.
I want to find the actual. There's got to be.
No. Let's just stick with that here for a
But
second.
this is like some
that's
artist
good. No, that's good
interpretation.
enough because that gets the thing across. Okay.
Okay.
A Cairn Terrier. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, K-Wall and T-Wall. Our sympathies are with you. That sucks during this part of the season too to lose a dog.
Yeah. Condolences. Sorry to hear that. Moment of silence. Okay.
That was our first moment of silence on the show. There we go. I don't know what Debbie's posting there, but
I'll
let's.
check it.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect. Go to Debbie. That. Let's read what MinPost has to say. But here's what I think they're saying. Looking at this logo, the man is stolen their land, and so the Indians now. So he's basically in his face, going, "Look at my stolen land. I'm using it for agricultural means." Now, Mark and I, being big outdoorsmen, look at this as like, oh, that poor white guy, he's got to plow and work the fields while the Indian gets to go bareback and go hunting all day.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
To me, it's pretty obvious which one I want to be.
Yeah.
The Indian here. So what's MinPost have to say? Let's go right to the source, okay?
I'll do that. To me, that whole here while I'm bringing it up, the whole flag thing. I don't think that there's anything racist about it, but it was during the big phase of, or like the big push to let's get rid of literally anything with a Native American on it ever, or a black person like Aunt Jemima, like you were saying earlier. It's like,
oh,
they went
another
a
great
little too
point.
far.
Yes, they get rid of Land O'Lakes and Aunt Jemima. This is a bigger thing that the left or the right is just mad that they keep doing this. To the left.
Washington football team.
Washington football team. Although you got
that one's a little.
that one was pretty hot. The Redskins, like,
Yeah.
that's not racist. They're called the Redskins. Like I'm not with you when you call Warriors and Chiefs and stuff, but it's the Redskins. By the way, there's an Indian movement to say we want the Redskins back, which is kind of funny.
What
the
does
worst-
redskin mean? Is it derogatory?
It means, yeah, it's what you call Indians.
Isn't it like
American
calling
Indian, sorry.
Isn't it like calling an Asian person like a yellow skin or something like that?
Yes.
That's like a little, but like calling the Fighting Sioux. That's the
It's
one that I
ridiculous.
was always like, what do you mean?
Let's talk about a racist and ugly state flag. The seal itself, a complex, messy affair, which is fair, right? That is a fair criticism. Dates back to 1858 when it was created by Alexander Ramsey, Henry Sibley, and Seth Eastman. Henry Sibley, who took Dr. Bean's land. All right, let's scroll down here. It's funny that they got that scene of Joe Biden in a mask.
What are you looking for?
There's not much. No, go back. I want to start. There's not much you could say to defend the Minnesota state flag. Okay, so right off, they're accusing you of being bad, right? You guys at home that are mad about this. I guess it's historically honest, reflect a deep well of racism that is inseparable from our state history. But, I should read this the way that this leftist would talk. I guess it's historically honest, reflecting a deep well of racism that is inseparable from our state history. Have you ever noticed how the lefties and like these, especially these girls, they always like have an uptick in their voice at the end of the sentence? It's the most annoying thing. But there are two main reasons for retiring the flag and removing it as the preeminent symbol of our state. Wasn't this written by a guy, by the way? Or should I not assume gender on this one? What was the author? It's up on the top there, Dawson.
They, them.
Oh, sorry.
Did it have their pronouns?
No.
Bill Lindicki. Well, I'm pretty sure Bill's a dude, but we don't know.
He still might require menstrual products. You never know.
Maybe, because, men can menstruate, right?
Yeah.
By far the most important is the flag's relationship to Minnesota's settler colonial history. The seal itself, a complex, messy affair. Did I just read this?
I don't know.
It just isn't that
And
written.
Seth Eastman, that was 7 years of worst U.S. treaties, blah, 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 and then appeared and shouted. Despite the official symbolism of the seal explaining the Secretary of State, the original meaning of the seal was meant to celebrate this colonial relationship. The designer's wife, Mary Eastman, even penned a short poem to explain what was on the seal. Are we gonna get to the crux of this thing?
I don't think
Eastman rhyme has the benefit of honestly reflecting the dominant feelings of white Minnesotans at the time. So maybe I should read. Give way, young warrior. Thou and thy steed give way. Rest not, though lingers on the hills. The red sun's parting ray. The rock bluff and prairie land. The white man claims them now.
Okay. Huh.
All right, this is just bullshit.
That's an interpretation in itself.
It is.
What I see in the old seal is a proud Native American riding a horse ready to go shoot a deer.
Well,
I don't
in this
see-
case, stab it because he only had a spear. Because white man didn't give him guns. I don't know.
Oh, didn't he have a bow? I don't know.
No, he had a big old spear. Really, that's a spear. Of course, it's okay for him to spear. Jared Allen spears an animal. They'll be up in arms about it.
I mean,
Oh, wait, no, it was another couple or another person that.
I
did
think I think that it's fair that we can all look at this like the white man claims them now. That's like not great, but I don't think that should give way to why the flag should go away. I personally think the flag should not, or the old flag should have been changed because it looks gross. It's like you have your seal on blue and there's your state flag. It's like lazy to me. So I like the new one. It's
well,
really nice.
first of all, we have to take it. It says the designer's wife, so it wasn't even the designer that came up with it. She's probably just a crazy woman and
Wow.
came up with it herself. So I mean, it's just we have to all be triggered by things these days. Well, that's
Yeah.
what the left does. And that so once again, to get to my point, that is what people are upset about, and this is depicted very well in this next segment of this video, where the big shocking admission by Dr. Bean is that a lot of our people don't even support the colonial government. So here we are changing the state flag for people that are butthurt about the state flag that don't even recognize this colonial government. Let's hear it from her own mouth.
Yes, Dr. Bean, please.
I just want to say that, within the previous state flag and seal designs, those designs were about erasure. And as Native people on this committee, we're asked to help represent the fact that we as a people are still here. That's why we were asked to be here. When you come from a people who have been historically excluded, you speak for your people any chance you get, especially when you're considered statistically insignificant in this country. And so our voices have to be here. We have our own tribal flags, and many in our communities do not support this colonial government and state. That's a reality. But we're citizens. I vote. I pay taxes. Was asked to
All
be
right, let's
here
stop it
today.
right there. So they don't even recognize it. It's the colonial government. But they're asked to be part of this thing, which is so bizarre to me. And quite frankly, let's include everybody. But let's also make sure that we all have the same regulation when it comes to walleye in Lake Mille Lacs, or that we all get equal share of the moose population tax. We can't hunt moose right now, and that's like one of my lifelong dreams is to get one of those lifetime moose tags in Minnesota. And we haven't had that for like 4 or 5 years. Natives still get it. Sorry, American Indians. I used the wrong term there.
You can't say natives now either.
Well, yeah, and I saw one comment was indigenous people, but that's not appropriate. According to Dr. Bean, they're American Indians is what they go by. By the way, they also want to control speech. It's just another thing. Use the right pronouns. See, we're really woke at this station. We acknowledge the pronouns that they want to be used, right? Not the biology. The biology doesn't change. Okay. So anyhow, that's what I see happening here. I just was talking to a fella that was here at the studio, brought up another good point. Once this gets changed, think about all the things that now use the current Minnesota flag or the current seal, like let's say law enforcement on the side of vehicles, right? What are the costs of all that? It's just $35,000 to fund this commission.
What about like all the schools don't they all have
Everyone
a flag?
has to get a new flag, right?
But when it comes to these state flags, I mean, do you know what I don't know what the Wisconsin state flag looks like. I
It's
don't
actually
know
almost
what the Iowa.
equally hideous.
I don't know what any of them look like. I don't give a rip. Leave it alone. Stop blowing our money.
No, actually, Mark, this is a really good point. Let's go look at the flags and find what's the most outrageous. Pull up the Wisconsin flag. Because I lived in Wisconsin for a while. Your dad was
born and raised.
Lacrosse as well.
That's
Still a
pretty,
Packer fan.
Yep.
Sorry, folks.
That's
There we go. That's Wisconsin flag.
That's disgusting.
Let's see here. Let's scroll in. Okay, so first of all, it's not inclusive. There's not
No,
an Indian in
It's
their
racist.
flag. So you're damned if you have an Indian, and damned if you don't have an Indian. That's how we're gonna go. So
Well, how about
Very
check out Iowa once? Just let's go kind of around us. What does
All right.
Iowa
I
got
can look
going
up
on?
like a ranking of each flag.
well, we were able to find out the racial undertones of the Wisconsin flag within minutes. Okay, let's see. I guess it depends on what that scroll says, right?
Oh my gosh, they're all shopping.
Okay, here's the
lists.
problem with the Iowa flag. It's too closely resembling the Russian flag. The red, white, and blue, right? So there you go.
Well, it's got
They're
an
pro-Putin.
eagle and
They're pro-Putin. No. Now type in Alaska flag.
This one's cool.
Yep. See?
I like
Isn't that
this.
cool?
That's so sick. I although you know what, I wish that these were 6-pointed or 8-pointed stars. I'd really like that.
Don't you dare. So there you go. I mean, that's a simple flag. I think simplicity works the best in this case. But going back to what I was saying, it's the changing of everything that's got people up in arms. And that's where I think the right is correct in how they're approaching this. And so where I was confused at the beginning of this week, why is everyone up in arms on this? I get the Somalia thing, but it's like, it's just from the get-go. We didn't need a new flag. We didn't need to spend taxpayer money on a new flag. It was fine. And then someone comes and says, it's offensive to the tribal people, right? And so they just create a problem that didn't exist. Okay. Now, here's my question. This is where I wanted the conversation to go today,
That's
Mark.
crazy.
And this is why I'm happy to have you on the show. If we can't get the simple things right, I mean, I'm not trying to undermine the simplicity of symbols, okay? Because symbols do have a lot of meaning, okay? But if we can't get that right as a country, as a state, in our society, how the hell are we going to get any of the big stuff right? And it's not lost on me that 2024 is going to be full of big issues. And we already saw the first one surface yesterday. The Colorado State Supreme Court. I'm sorry, is that 2 days ago now? I think it was 2 days ago. Time's moving fast. It's already Christmas on Monday, by the way. The Colorado State Supreme Court in a 4-3 decision decided that Donald Trump can't be a candidate on their ballot. The leading presidential candidate can't be on the ballot. I know it's going to go to the Supreme Court. I get that. And by the way, we assume the Supreme Court will follow the right side of this. We don't know that for a fact. But what we do know is at least one of the 50 states, and if you took the proportion of the Electoral College, they're not at the very bottom end of it because, Colorado has somewhat of a population. What's so funny?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the state flags and they just have little blurbs, descriptions, and the one for Alaska says each star on the flag represents one of Alaska's 8 citizens. I'm having a ball looking at this.
Oh,
right
that's
here.
pretty funny.
Look at Maryland's flag. What is going on?
Hold on. Yeah, isn't that awesome? That's badass.
No.
You don't like that?
This?
I think that's
Is
badass.
it Scotland?
Yeah.
What-
Is this ranked the worst to the best?
Best to worst. This is totally subjective. Just some guy.
Yeah, New
I don't
Mexico's
know.
very simple.
I love New Mexico's.
that Maryland
I can't
is
believe you don't like
bad.
Maryland. I think Maryland's badass.
No.
How
I
do you
feel
not
like I'd get
okay.
epilepsy if I saw this waving in the
whatever.
wind.
Just have a seizure.
Oklahoma,
They
Arizona's not bad. Colorado's pretty simple.
So Oklahoma
Ooh.
needs to change their flag.
Why?
It's racist.
Oh, a dream
Oh,
catcher?
yeah.
Is that weed? No. Sorry, I don't
It
know.
could be
anything about
weed.
that.
It's showing the stolen symbols of Native people. Sorry, American Indians. Mississippi.
Mississippi's is really nice.
Yeah, I actually didn't know what they look like. Wyoming. I've always liked Wyoming's.
Michigan has a bunch of deer.
Yeah, hold on. Go back to Michigan real quick.
What is that? Is that a moose? That's a moose.
No, it's not a moose.
Yeah, it's got the little snout thing going.
It's not a moose.
I'm sure there's something racist in it.
Is that Bigfoot? What's going on there?
Is that Bigfoot's? Can you zoom in?
Yeah. Better not be Bigfoot.
Oh, they have E pluribus unum out of many one.
Circumspice?
I don't know. All right, let's go. Now, California, that's a really solid
That
flag.
one's
Not a solid
awesome.
state, but a solid flag. South Dakota, Nevada,
I think
simple,
that
Kansas.
Minnesota's new one is going to stand out a lot against these.
Zoom out real quick. Washington, that's easy. Vermont, Wisconsin. All right, scroll to the bottom then. Where do we rank on this thing?
We're
Low, aren't we?
33.
33. So what do they consider the worst flag?
They consider the worst one to be Georgia.
Georgia is pretty bizarre.
Oh,
Number 49 is Hawaii?
that is also crazy. Putting the Union
all right, whatever.
Jack
This
on
is
the
all
state
subjective.
flag. Get your act
Leftists
together.
calling for Clarence Thomas to recuse himself. Unreal. Yeah, of course they are. Ganser says Maryland's flag is the worst. Well, agree to disagree.
Yes,
I
thank you.
kind of don't mind Maryland's flag.
I don't really like it.
It looks like Scotland. What?
That's
like,
cool.
It looks like, what the hell does it even mean? And it's like a checkered flag with puzzle pieces.
Here's the point I'm trying to make, guys. We can't even agree on something simple as a flag. How are we going to agree on these big things? We literally have a leading presidential candidate taken off a ballot now, right? Our country's going to have some pretty big problems. So in my opinion, is there going to be a civil war in this country? It really, I mean, a lot of our people believe that there's a civil war. And we showed on the last episode, there's a trailer for the new Civil War movie by A24, the people that did, what movie did they do? They did a big one.
They've done tons. They did a horror movie recently that was really solid.
What's the one they get credit for?
I'll look it up. Did they do Black Klansman?
I
Black
don't
Klansman,
remember.
I think, was really good.
Anyhow,
Where will this movie be shown? In the theaters, or like, is this on Netflix?
This is
no,
in theaters.
This is the theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, theaters are
Theatrical
making a
release.
comeback, which is good. Okay, so we looked at the map. This will be fun. I really want to hear you guys' comments at home, okay?
Oh, shoot.
So this is the map of the Civil War movie on how the country will look, or I shouldn't even say country, the landscape will look. And just click on that. You can get a bigger one on this person's Instagram. I don't think there's context to this, okay?
Oops.
My
bad.
Because why would they give you context? They want you to go see the movie. So apparently, the loyalist states, and this is the way I read it, loyal to Washington, D.C., which is becoming very, very much militarized, right? I was explaining to Dawson today how we are 180 degrees from the founding of this country. Because, so Dawson basically said, wouldn't it just make more sense if we were just a bunch of different countries? And I go, yeah, that's actually the original design. We call them states, but states and countries are the same thing. You know, you're a state actor or you're enemy of the state. State's just another term for a country, right?
Yeah.
We call the 50 different states, but we could call them 50 different countries. They're sovereign. That's the point, right?
But they're not.
Well,
really.
they were originally,
They
right?
were, right.
That's Benner's book. Where's Benner's book? Yep, here we go. Compact of the States, right? Great book. Dave Benner. I think it's davebenner.com if you want to order it. Sorry, Benner, if I'm murdering it. It's either Dave Benner or davidbenner.com. Or just type in Google Compact of the States. This is my boy. We were good buddies from college. And he's a historian, real patriot. Oh, my God, I forgot. I'm actually in the acknowledgments. Jake Duesenberg for being a friend throughout much of my life and regularly encouraging me to continue down the path of writing and speaking. That's right. What's up? And I noticed that I'm ahead of Matt Wolf and Brandy and way ahead of Tom Woods and Kevin Gutzman. So look at this. I'm actually right after his father, an inspiration. Whoa. I mean, honestly, go buy the book.
Influential.
I should get proceeds for that one, shouldn't I?
You should.
Okay. Getting off topic. Compact of the Republic, meaning it's a compact of states. That was the original idea. This is the best book out there. I'd recommend if you want to understand the founding of this country. Okay. We're 180 degrees different. And part of the reason, Mark, is because there's an income tax. We allow the federal income to come into our wallets and our personal bank accounts, extract money, because if you don't pay it, you're going to jail, right? And bypass the state. The state, if we have to give taxes, which I'm against because taxation's theft, should be done by the states, not by some federal entity out in Washington, D.C., thousands some miles away. right? So right now we're screwed because the states have a hard time going up against the federal government for this very reason. They already have the money, and to the point where it's the largest institution that has ever existed. It's a $4 trillion institution. T-Wall for life. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. I appreciate
everybody.
that. Yes. And Razzle Dazzle, where's your Rumble rant? There you go. I'm throwing it right back at you there, buddy.
Really quick, you asked what movies A24 made. They made like Uncut Gems. Lady Bird is probably their...
Uncut Gems is great.
I need to watch that one really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made Hereditary was the horror movie I was thinking of. A fantastic horror movie.
Maybe I was thinking of the directors. The directors were known for something. By the way, Razzle Dazzle, I'll give him crap, but Razzle Dazzle is one of the guys that will text me about stuff on the show. Good material, good feedback. This show would be nothing if it wasn't for the audience here, honest to God.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't just mean the Rumble rants in terms of helping fund the things that we do in the show, but like literally, if you guys weren't in the comment section doing all this stuff, I mean, like this would be a pointless show. Like most people are afraid to do a live show. It's wild. You might say something, Mark. You might say something that gets you in trouble, Mark.
I might. I have.
But we roll with it, and you guys are there with us. And you don't have to agree with us on all things. And I could be wrong on some things too, okay? But I'm not wrong on this. Compact the states, a bunch of different sovereign states with the power, right? So they reach into our pocket. They also militarily have changed because we were supposed to have these militias. And now there's a 4-star general that at the Pentagon, and they have something called the National Guard Bureau, which our National Guard, our state militias, answer to. So they've actually taken over militarily and certainly financially. And by the way, also financially, they create the money system that must be used in the states, the Federal Reserve note, just fiat money. So yeah, we're 180-degree difference, okay? So anyhow, the point I was trying to make here...
The flag?
No. Okay, go back to the country. So this is showing what I think like people that would align with Washington, D.C. We all noticed one big glaring thing. Minnesota would not look like it does right there. There would be this big carve out for the 5-county metro area. They would clearly be loyal to Washington, D.C. But a lot of this other stuff makes sense. You know, South Carolina doesn't make ton of sense. Kentucky wouldn't be part of it. But more than likely what could happen is they push all the Patriots out down south or up north, and so they reclaim that land. And so it ends up being, you know, the two fronts that are the Western forces up in the Northwest, and they clearly pushed Portland and Washington down or killed them all or let them try to supply themselves, and they all murdered each other because they don't know how to do anything but tech stuff or be baristas. And then you got the Florida Alliance, so the southern states, the Bible Belt. The Republic of California just breaks off, which that actually makes sense, and certainly the Republic of Texas makes sense. What does your map look like, Mark? And I'd love to hear what you guys think the map should look like.
Well, I think, like you said, maybe they push Patriots out of some of those states down to the Florida Alliance or whatever. Maybe we push the woke into Wisconsin, and that line could stay the same.
But how do we push the whole Twin Cities population? That's the thing. I don't see us being able to do that.
Why not you guys go to North Dakota, South Dakota?
That's more likely what would happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they're showing that, like, no, Minnesota is part of the resistance. It's like clearly the Twin Cities wouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean, we're about as woke a state, progressive as there is in the Union now. I mean, aside from California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so interesting that they put Wisconsin into the loyalist states, but not Minnesota. And if not, then Western forces with Wisconsin in it? I don't know. Seems weird.
Brad Ganser writes, you could build a wall.
Yeah.
Tucker says, push them into Mississippi, Jake. Oh, do you mean push them into the Mississippi?
Yeah.
I thought you meant the state. Yeah, push them into Mississippi in January. The other thing that could happen is the major metro areas, they end up killing each other because they starve and don't know what to do, right?
Do we know the plot of the movie and what preempts this war?
Not yet. No.
People
And-
think it's conditioning. That's the conspiracy, Mark, is that it's conditioning for, things to come. Like, they're already off.
Predictive programming. Have you seen that Netflix movie that everyone's talking about the grid coming down? And
Yes. Have you?
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, I had a
totally predicted. The Obamas made the movie.
Is that beneath the dome or under the dome?
No, it's
Gosh, what is it?
All
Leave the World Behind or something?
Yeah, our mutual friend Lisa from our area, she was like the fourth person to ask if I watched it, and she said this like Sunday night, and Chris and I like had the kids to bed early, and like, let's check this out. So we watched it all on Sunday night. I thought it was a good movie. The ending kind of left you unfulfilled, but it's worth watching.
Which movie are you talking about?
It's called Leave the World Behind. It's on Netflix. It was like the #1 movie for a while. And it can, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the grid, internet goes down, and there's chaos, correct?
It's clearly an attack by probably the Chinese.
And so they're already, that's predictive programming. Obama's behind the making of the movie. We know this.
Do we know that?
Yeah, he's like part owner of Netflix, and
Well,
apparently
he's
he
on
was
the board of Netflix.
He
I don't
was
think he's-
on the set for part of the making of this
But
movie.
does that mean anything? You could just
It doesn't necessarily, but to me, it's predictive. It's like they let you know. Here, look, it can happen. So when it happens, the subconscious is like, well, I realize it could happen. So when it happens,
Oh my God, this is
normal.
actually an article by Forbes written yesterday. I'm going to place it here, Dawson, on line 12.
Okay.
And the article is entitled President Obama's Involvement in Leave the World Behind. This is by Monica McCurry.
Oh my gosh, did you have to give me Forbes?
Oh, by the way, good actors. So you got Julia Roberts. What's his name? The dude from Training Day. What's his name?
Is it Ethan?
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the black guy. God, he's good. He was in House of Cards. I don't know the actor's name. Oh, here it is. Mahershala Ali.
Oh yeah, he is good.
Yeah, he's awesome. Leave the World Behind. Netflix newest disaster thriller taking view. I think they mean disaster as in world disaster, not as it's a disaster of a movie. Taking viewers by storm is currently the #1 film on the streaming platform. Da 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 da. Let's see. Obama. Where's Obama? Where's Obama? It's just saying what I just said. Somewhere in here is about Obama.
Ismail recently
Okay,
debunked
here.
conspiracy theories.
So how are the Obamas involved in Leave the World Behind? Ismail recently debunked conspiracies that were swirling around the film routed around the former president's involvement. Now he's setting the record straight. And I have to scroll down
Scroll
a lot.
past some ads. Yeah.
Barack and Michelle Obama, along with a bunch of other people, are credited as executive producers for Leave the World Behind. Okay, so you have a point. You have a point, Mark. Since founding their production company Higher Grounds Production in 2018, the Obamas have also produced projects like Michael Keaton's Worth and Kevin Hart's Fatherhood. In a recent interview with Collider, Ismail explained how exactly Obama shaped the current version of Leave the World Behind. Because President Obama is such a movie lover, he really focused his notes on trying to cinematically portray what was in the book in a really interesting way.
Oh,
So he's not behind the story, I guess. Well, okay, so I'm not going to do this any justice by reading this article here. You'd have to take a deep dive. But actually, Mark, I'm going to say you actually have a point here. He had involvement in it, and so maybe there is predictive programming going
Well,
on.
and it's what they say. It's a subtle form of psychological conditioning provided by the media to acquaint the public with planned societal changes to be implemented by our leaders. If and when these changes are put through, the public will already be familiarized with them and accept them as natural. This shit happens. Cyber Polygon was in August of a couple years ago where it was like this tabletop exercise for when the grid goes down, when the internet goes down, how they'll react. Same as Event 201 that took place just before the scamdemic. This is going to happen.
Well, okay, there's a scene. Spoiler alert. Don't listen to the next 2 minutes if you don't want the spoiler, okay? It's not a big spoiler, but there comes a point. This is a spoiler alert. Comes a point in the movie where medical attention is needed, And the main characters, and there's not a lot of characters in this movie, by the way, because they're on like Long Island or whatever. I don't know New York that well, but they're basically in a vacation destination, and they could see Manhattan in the back, like far distance, and it's like all blown up, right? So that's where the mass of the people are. So there's not a lot of people in this movie, but they need some medical assistance, and they go find a guy who's a prepper, played by Kevin Bacon. And Kevin Bacon is like, F you, kind of like, you weren't prepared kind of stuff.
Like we would be.
No, not like we would be, because that's bullshit, all right? People talk that way. We would help our neighbors. I'm going to help my neighbors, right?
You give them a pound of rice, and you're not going to put your family at risk, though, based
Right,
on...
but in this case, it's not really putting the family at risk. They want to make it seem like the preppers are the self-centered, selfish people. Right? Just rednecks that don't care about anybody but themselves. That's the way they portray them. It's like hunters in movies. You know, the way hunters are portrayed in movies, always these rednecks drinking beer, no ethics, right?
Yeah.
They're always portrayed in a bad light, which is interesting to me because, you know, that doesn't really explain the hunting community I'm growing up in, right? People with good moral standing and want a renewable source, right? So that's kind of, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Let's see here. Tucker says, you know who else loved movies? Kim Jong-il, just saying.
Damn, good point.
So did Hitler. Rodeo 55. I love the movie, but I agree the ending was not great. Yeah, it's almost undisputed. They better do another movie because it left you just like, what? That's it?
Don't support Netflix. I agree with that. It's tough, though. I still pay the bastards. My kids... What can I say?
I mean, guilty. Netflix produces some good stuff, right? By the way, the
They're
left,
woke.
The left should not be running institutions. The left should not be in power in government. But the left is actually more artistic, right? The artsy folks are generally left-leaning. So I'm not for completely getting rid of the left. Just don't want them running government. I also don't want the far right running government because they're also authoritarian.
Neocons.
Yeah, I want the libertarian, the constitutionalists be in charge of government. The Ron Paul types, exactly. So here's what I think. Go back to that map. This is what I think, Mark. You tell me if I'm wrong. Brad Gans, another $10. Hell no to Netflix. Remember cuties. Oh my God, that is a good point. That's a good point. That they got that one way wrong.
Yeah,
remember that?
I
No,
can't believe that
cuties?
happened.
It was like it was about a documentary on like what do they call those beauty pageants? Young
Toddlers and Tiaras is like the one that
Oh,
popularized it, where it's just like sickening,
Like Jean Bonnet.
I
It was
don't
like
know what that
very offensive, like sexualization of children. I don't know because even with the being in pop culture, I don't think I would have had any interest in watching it. Let alone that is the last thing in the world I want to watch is something like that.
Yeah.
So I actually can't opine how if it was an overreaction. I don't think it was.
No.
But they took a lot of heat on that one.
It wasn't. It was like the worst taste that they possibly could have used on it. The same kind of thing happened with Monroe or whatever movie that was. Was it Blondie? Monroe?
I don't know.
The Marilyn Monroe movie that came out like not crazy long ago.
I didn't see that one.
It was terrible taste. It was like pretty much let's look at this naked woman on camera a bunch, but it's okay because she was sexualized in real life and that's bad. And then they also talked about her abortions or miscarriages over and over, and it was just gratuitously like they were trying to be artistic, but they just were gross. Same thing with cuties.
Well, they also produced some good stuff, like Stranger Things. Stranger Things wouldn't be here without Netflix. So,
Yeah, there's good things to watch on there, but giving them our money, it's like, when I went to get my kids their presents, I chose to go to Walmart instead of Target. Well, what's my other choice aside from Netflix? Besides just, I guess, not watching any of that shit would be a good option.
well, an ordinary mom makes a great point, and they're promoting their message to your kids, and that's what we have to step in. Like, I'm not afraid to be indoctrinated, and I can piece through it. But my kids don't just get a full suite of Netflix, right?
Yep.
Not a chance. And that's what you really have to be careful about, right? But I don't think people in our audience are going to be non-awoken to that. So, yeah, I do worry about that with a lot of other people is they're just turning on Netflix and not worrying about the indoctrination going on. Go back to that map here. I want to get back to this subject. Here's what I think, Mark. The Civil War, because I was always puzzled. How does the Civil War work? I think it's that more and more trends of people like us move to rural areas, and then you have the people in the cities that are far left. It's just already happening, right? Well, who's the people that actually can weather the storm? Because let's just be honest here. We're heading for darker days. I think we're going to experience a Great Depression, okay? It's basically they've been screwing up with interest rates for so long and printing money that we're going to have a really gloomy future, economically speaking. And in the Great Depression of the 30s, well, we were ag-based. And so people were still on the farm, and they could survive it, at least feed their families to a degree. It was bad, but they were a much more resilient population. Today, we're not a resilient population. Too many of us drive desks for a living, wouldn't know how to hunt, wouldn't know how to grow vegetables, wouldn't know how to store them. They don't know how to get water. They don't know how to get energy, right?
Don't know how to do anything.
They don't know how to do anything. The people that do know are the people that live out of the cities. And so what I see happening is similar to what happens in basically every communist country. They turn population against each other. And so when they screw up our economy and there's mass starvation, there's disruptions and civil strife in the cities, because that's where it's going to be concentrated on. The supply chains break. They got large lines for energy. That only happened a little over 40 years ago in America. You have a breakdown in the supply chain, and then you have, turmoil and turns into violence in the cities. The government's going to say, but what about all these wealthy, well-to-do people outside of the city, the bourgeoisie, right? The wealthy landowners, as they would say in Russia, right? They are the problem, and that's where the Civil War is. So I don't see it necessarily being these great lines of resistance, or maybe that's what ends up happening is there's enough people that end up taking over big portions of the country, but it's going to be the rural versus the urban areas, and the urban areas are going to be so starved of resources and supplies that they're going to be feuding, and the government will probably join in, and they go commit atrocities to us in the rural areas because it'll be popular with the people. That's why we don't actually like democracy in the end. Democrats always say, we need to save democracy. It's like democracy is an evil form of government. It's mob rule. And this would be a great case in point. Turn the people against a minority group, right? I don't care if it's a minority group because of race or because your ethnicity or your religion, or in the case of where you live. In this case, it'd be rural. Democracy is mob rule, and you turn them against that people, and then you take away their rights. You dehumanize them. It's what's literally happening in the Gaza Strip. You dehumanize the people that live in the Gaza Strip.
Careful.
I know, right? Can't say that, huh? So it's like, that's the way I see it going about. If there's a civil war, it's really urban versus rural, and the urban centers are going to be dependent on Washington, D.C. to do their bidding. Now, that doesn't mean we don't go move out in the country and be self-sustaining. It's just that to me, that's where the division is. Tell me if I'm wrong. How do you see this stuff going about? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts at home if you see some kind of distinct lines.
Well, you see the lines on the map of the states you showed there with that Civil War. You see those lines, but what's going to happen before we get to these drawn lines? Where is the blood in the streets? How does it get to that point? It leads up to this division, and it's the lead up that's bloody and chaotic. It's like, how does an actual modern civil war even take place? And if they keep Trump off the ballot, I mean, it's like these little things are leading towards enough upheaval where enough people might just say, I'm done with it.
Right.
Do you guys think that Trump being off the ballot is going to be the spark to the powder keg?
Sure as hell isn't gonna, sit well. If the Supreme Court sides with Colorado libs, shit's gonna hit the fan. It's not gonna be good.
You think all the way into Civil War territory, though?
I mean, it's gonna Civil War. Wow. How does that really come about? I mean, if you're gonna have J6 on steroids, but for real at the Colorado State Capitol, if this happens, I mean,
This is the Trump vote in 2020 in Colorado. He lost by 500,000 to Biden. He had 42%. Colorado's gone blue. It's sad. There's a good book about it called Blueprint, worth reading. But he had 1.4 million voters voting for him. In 2016, I think this is going to say it, Clinton won the state, but a smaller margin. It was about a 3-point margin. She had 1.2 million votes, and Donald Trump had 1.1 million. Now, remember, the left had a strategic advantage in everyone, more liberalized voting laws or, because of COVID. So, in other words, Trump beat Hillary Clinton's vote of 2016. He beat that in 2020. So, technically, Colorado, there's an argument to be made he could still win it, but that's not my point I'm trying to make. Whether it's 1.4 or 1.1 million, there's over 1 million Coloradans who voted for Donald Trump, and now you tell them they can't vote for him.
It's only 9 electoral votes.
It's the point I'm trying to make is you got 1 million people that you just took away their choice.
And they're, so if you have, it's a little over 1 million, if you just take a percentage of those people, you're at 10,000, you take 10%, 100,000. People are going to go nuts if they do this.
Well, so then who are they? When it comes down to that, those people are going nuts. Are they up against the entire U.S. military? They're going to get the snot wiped out of them.
No, I don't agree with that.
Well, if National Guard comes out, how does this?
Well,
and
first of all, the military
starts. Then it's like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, but see, this is the problem: is the military, at least the current military, there's too many patriots in the military. So the military is going to take a huge cut in people. Right?
Sure.
So they're going to have to carry out anything that they do. Plus, then if you just mass kill people, right, the military, you got a problem with the rest of the population. Let's go back to that map.
And that's how it leads.
Let's go back to this map because here's a great case in point. All right. So let's just say this is the little way that the map falls out. Well, I got parents that live in Wisconsin. So if the federal government kills my family and my sister lives in the Twin Cities too, you think my parents are going to be loyalists to Washington, D.C. when you do that? It's another case in point in Israel and Gaza, right? Another good case in point. You just made an enemy. They might be on different sides. And the Civil War was like this too. It's not like it was beautifully drawn, right? You had family members and friends on both sides. It sucks. So to me, they can't just blanket kill everybody. And we always operate under this. That's why it took us. That's why it was difficult for us in Iraq and Afghanistan. You think Iraq and Afghanistan, the people we were up against there weren't even close to the United States military. But it's not like we can just do whatever we want to these people and obliterate them. We lose the hearts and minds of the people. And so they would have that same calculus. So what I think they're going to do is do everything they can to turn the people against us, and they'll do most of the bidding for the federal government. They don't even need to explore much in terms of military might. They will just turn people against us. And some would argue they're doing that already.
What people against us?
The urbanites, to make it easy. But clearly what's happening right now, they're already turning leftist monsters against us. The whole punch a Nazi, that's the most interesting phrase, right? Who's opposed to punching a Nazi? No one. A Nazi is the worst thing that's possibly ever existed on this planet, right? So you are justified morally to punch a Nazi. The problem here is, what's a Nazi? Well, when a leftist defines it, it's anyone like us who doesn't have the same viewpoints as them.
Yeah.
So they've already, in their heads, gone to the point where you could hurt one of us because the definition of a Nazi is in the eye of the beholder. So that's what happens is they turn the left, in my scenario, the leftists cultivate in the urban areas. There'll still be people that are like-minded with us in those areas, and they'll be like neutral players, right? But you'll have mobs of people in the urban areas that have been conditioned to believe that we're the bad people, the ones on the outside.
Right, dog. I like what an ordinary mom says, because I asked the question, what does it look like the lead up to this war? And she thinks we're watching and living the beginning of that.
It could be, right?
And then it was, what does Rye Dog say? We the people must willingly take the necessary sacrifices and take our fucking country back and be the hope God is with the U.S.
Well, see, I don't know what he's saying there, but like to me, it's like I am not advocating at all for violence. I want a peaceful settlement to this. You know, Michael Malice, who is a probably
He's
one of the
narco capitalist.
Yeah, he's one of the most notable anarchists. Talks about the national divorce, but he wants it to be peaceful, not a civil war. And that would be nice. Like, listen, I am 100% for dividing Minnesota. In fact, this whole flag thing.
Yeah.
There you go. Let's do that. Let's divide Minnesota. You guys can have the Twin Cities. I'll move. I don't know. Brainerd, that's a good area. Bemidji, we'll move. I'm fine selling my home. Let's divide Minnesota because we need a divorce. The leftist stuff that's ruining our society, it's not going to work. It'd be good for us to peacefully move on, right? That's what I'd like to see, a peaceful divorce. I think the state of Texas should not be part of the union anymore. They should stop saying, hey, yeah, the federal government can come tax our people and then use that money to give it to our enemies overseas.
Yeah.
Like that should be the state of Texas, which I bring Texas up because they're the closest to it. Texas would have the easiest chance of just seceding from the nation. That's what should happen. We should have people secede. There was a story. I keep saying this to people, and better fact check me on this. I think North Dakota, there's something, and this was in the last 10 years, they found out when they became a state or something like that, some T's weren't crossed, I's dotted. So technically they could be construed as not a state, if I'm remembering this right. And they quickly resolved this issue. And I was like, wait a second. You then wouldn't have any liability for at that point, probably $20 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
It's not you really aren't in a good situation right now being in America, which really sucks because I love this country, right? But you're also talking about unfunded liabilities going forward. It's like, man, if you could part ways from this country, that's good. Because really in my world, it's God, family, where does country come in? I don't know. It's not that high. It's God and family first, by far.
And community.
Community, 100% more
Yeah.
than, like greater community. Like I do not associate with those people in D.C. That's the other problem with Donald Trump is he's going to face a bunch of juries of people in places that do not appreciate our values. Manhattan, Fulton County, Georgia, D.C. He's not going to get a fair trial in any of those places. In fact, it's pretty obvious Donald Trump will be found guilty of something. And we face this too. Hennepin and Ramsey County, right? Like these people are not on our side. Let's go to some comments. KO, put a wall around Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, and Rochester and take away their local government aid. I like that. Make them government without our money. And that's the thing. You're right on the money is they can't govern without the money, and they're going to need the money from the productive members of society, right? Tucker says, I've been saying we need to secede from St. Paul, create greater Minnesota, and move the capital to St. Peter. I was on a tour in greater Minnesota, and we kept talking about outer Minnesota or something like that. It used to be a term, and someone's like, we'd like to be called greater Minnesota. I'm like, yeah, good point. I like that. Because my heart and spirit is in greater Minnesota. Mark and I kind of live on the periphery. We can't really call Stillwater at this point not the metro area, even though we got some farmland woods between us and the city. But, yeah, it's like greater Minnesota. It's greater Minnesota, especially when you go way up north. That's much greater. If we can divide Minnesota somehow, we might decide to stick around. But if things keep coming this direction we're going, we are pretty close to our last straw with the state. Was just perusing Zillow. Yeah, I hear you on that.
Yeah, we're close to not sticking around. I don't know what it's going to take.
But would you leave the state or would you leave the cities?
One or the other, maybe the state. I mean, both my wife and I are, we look at properties. If interest rates weren't higher or, we're lower right now, we may have already bolted. I don't see it getting any better.
Are you going over that nice little bridge eastward? Is that what the plan would be?
Shit, I don't know. I mean, we consider as the Dakotas, we consider like places like Tennessee, Arkansas, much more conservative. Who knows? But how much worse can it get here before, enough of us leave and then it's forever liberal.
Yeah.
Enough conservatives leaves, then it's like we're already in cold California. I don't know if it's going to get any better.
If any of you guys are selling your house for cheap in Minnesota, let me know.
No, we're gonna get as much as we can.
Fuck.
We need that money for livestock and chickens.
Damn.
That's right.
Odd one. My husband has houses picked out in South Dakota. I can't leave kids and grandchildren, and that's the problem. Is a lot of us have business and family. That's the big one for me. Is in-laws are older,
And
right?
that answers hate Minnesota's. So I don't understand why people seniors stay here. Probably because they have family, grandkids.
Yep.
All that. So it's like I have ties, not that many, but enough. I know enough good people that I love that I don't really want to leave, but. Especially if they come after my kids with a frickin' syringe. I'm out of here.
Right. Yeah, and it's scary how close we got to that, too.
Yeah, and wait for this next session.
That's the victory, Mark, that you and I can't really – it's hard for us to see that tangibly, but because we fought so hard on forced vaccinations, especially with children, like we did a big statewide mailer leading up to election time, and, you've been a big part of a lot of our fight against vaccinations. It's hard for us to understand how effective that was, but it was effective to the point where it's toxic now for the right and even most of the left to even go that direction. But they were going that direction.
And I think they will in the next session. I think they kind of, they did what they were going to do the last session. What do they have left to do other than force a syringe into everyone?
I don't know. I think they're just.
I think it's
it'd be
coming.
so refuted because people don't get the boosters anymore. It's a joke.
Well, it'll be childhood vaccinations be mandated, taking away their conscientious religious and medical exemption rights.
Just so Pfizer can line their pockets.
And Freiburg already in 2019 had a bill ready to go for that, where even homeschool children had to get the jab to live here. That was the bill.
Ordinary Mom says the vaccine exemption issue will be our last straw, and that's a good point. There are some last straws. So last straw,
That's mine.
forced vaccines. Here's another one. Ban my firearms. Now, granted, I
Yeah.
lost those firearms in that tragic boating accident, but you ban like the AR-15, handguns, stuff like that. That's my last straw, 100%. Make me a felon for having the right to defend my family. That makes me leave quick. There you go. I'm just tempting walls now. They're like, that's how we get rid of these guys. But you have to, right? So there's
Yeah.
two right there. If we had no faith in the election system anymore, that'd be a quick one, right?
Well, and I bet a lot of the viewers here have no faith in our elections. I don't.
Right.
I don't think they're on the up and up. Well, there is no smoking gun, but I don't believe the election process. If it's hooked up to the damn internet illegally, how can we trust it?
Right. Yeah, I get you. Okay. Next week. We're not doing a show on Tuesday, okay? No show on Tuesday. Have a Merry Christmas, by the way. Have you noticed you talk to government, you talk to big corporations, and it's always happy holidays. So I'm always like, Merry Christmas. It's like you can't say it,
I caught myself, though, when I left the other day, left the studio, I said Merry Christmas to Dawson. I caught myself.
Well, you could say.
Well, and do you know what I said back? I said, "You too. Have a good 25th." It's really easy.
You could say Happy Hanukkah.
But I know Dawson. I mean, you know me well enough.
Dawson's
I
not
think.
offended.
Right.
He wouldn't be
it's
offended
like,
by someone
because
saying
I
it.
have, 100%, happy holidays for whatever you're celebrating. I don't claim to be right about anything.
Dawson, so do you guys not? You guys don't put a Christmas tree up?
No.
And you don't. What do you do on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day?
Nothing. We usually eat Chinese food.
Well, that's very Christmassy, though.
Well, isn't Christmas anyway just a pagan holiday? The Christmas trees and all this? This is what I'm hearing from some
Oh,
really hardcore.
we're not going down that route.
Yeah, it gets my wife really fed up. She loves her Christmas tree.
Yes, and very good Christmas cookies. I had a thought
I
about their
love the
Christmas
Christmas
cookies
tree,
last night, too.
Also, Hanukkah it already happened.
Correct.
So it's
Did
like-
you get presents on Hanukkah?
No.
Oh.
Nobody.
It's not a materialistic holiday.
So
Well,
you
it-
literally don't do anything on Christmas other than eat Chinese food.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna come into work on.
This is
Monday.
not America.
America.
If you guys want to
No,
give me
but
a
the point
Christmas
is-
present,
People are so worried about offending people. You can't even say Merry Christmas, but let's be honest, that's predominant in our culture. Celebration Christmas.
yeah,
Okay.
I was raised so I grew up in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. There's 2 Jewish families, maybe, and what I was taught by my parents was if someone says Merry Christmas to you, you don't go, actually I'm Jewish. Actually, I celebrate Hanukkah, so that's really mean of you. You just say, yeah, and you too.
Right.
Have a good one. Nobody cares.
I like it. I want to say here, Billy22, I like that. Why make cast vote records non-public information like the Minnesota Ledge just did if they're not hiding anything? Absolutely. Why can we not see the cast vote records? If you're not hiding anything, just show us.
There you go. Tuesday, or no, I'm sorry. We're not doing a show on Tuesday.
Nope.
We don't have a definitive time. We'll get that information out, okay? We're slated for Thursday. What did the audience want? Friday or Thursday?
It's been going back and forth.
Well, they overwhelmingly wanted MAGA Jesse here, and Jesse will not be available at 1 o'clock on Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's either Thursday evening or Friday. We get, if it's in the evening, even if it's Friday, we might do this. It'll be a drinking show, okay?
I'll bring
Mark just goes, okay.
I'll bring
Checking my calendar here, making sure.
I'll bring out the bottle of Willet bourbon, or is it Willet? Whatever I have back there.
I'm going to bring my fireball.
There you go. Allegedly, Liberty Longbeard, the legend, will be in studio. He's coming with the other cast of ZZ Top, Wiesenberg. So we have to have wings, and thank you, Brad Ganser, for funding the wings. And K-Wall and T-Wall, too. I guess we'll put that in the wing budget. Yeah, that might cover it. It's a lot of wings. He's been in wing contests. That's true. We have, I think, Mort won't be. You will be. Bishofsky will be.
If it's the 28th.
It's looking like we'll have Mr. Straight-Laced himself, William Beck, back in studio.
We're going to need more cameras.
We might have some more guests. We're going to put together a hell of a 100th show. You won't want to miss it.
Friday, I'm not available. I work at one of my 3 jobs.
So Thursday night is more. I mean, we got to have Mark on it.
No,
So-
you're all right without me.
I think
You got MAGA Jesse. You got everything you need.
No, I want both you guys. Tucker, I think, was the only one that was having trouble making the Thursday evening because he's got to work.
What do you mean fireball is gross? Tucker, how dare you? Fireball is great. It's actually the only alcohol I really drink.
Ganser might be able to do it too. There you go. We might have Brad Ganser. This could be. We're gonna have a lot of fun, guys. We'll have some big announcement too on Thursday night or whatever it is. So stay tuned. We'll put it on social media. Make sure you're following us on Twitter or X as they call it now, Facebook, and then check our emails. Thank you so much for this wonderful year. Have a Merry Christmas. God bless you, and God bless the state of Israel. Right, Mark?
Sure. Why not? I have nothing against Israel.
I don't either. The Israeli people, the state,
I don't trust any government.
I don't trust any government either. I just had to throw that at you at the
The
last
people,
minute.
yeah. All the people of the world.
All the people of the
God
world.
bless.
Exactly.
All the governments of the world, fuck off.
Well, that's a way to bless Merry Christmas by swearing. Jeez. I've been accused. I had someone reach out the other day and they said, can you just kind of refrain from the 4-letter words? And honestly, they're right. We should. We get the worst of us get the best of us sometimes. So
sorry about that.
I'm a free speech guy. Mark can say what he wants.
Damn, you guys have mastered the Minnesota log off, like the Minnesota goodbye.
I am kind of doing
shows.
the Minnesota goodbye right now. Am I not?
Have a
Napkin
Merry
Anderson's
Christmas,
great show.
everybody.
Merry Christmas, T-Wall. Merry Christmas to you. And I feel bad for losing your dog, and so
Yeah.
God's blessings for you guys, because honestly, T-Wall and K-Wall, they're a staple of the show. In fact, we should see if they want to come in on the final show.
That'd be fun.
Anyhow, it's the Ordinary Mom. Yep, Potty Mouse. Sorry about that. My apologies.
Yeah, I'll watch my tongue from now on. I apologize.
We do need to make this somewhat family-oriented, but sometimes, it gets you. Anyhow, Merry Christmas, guys. God bless, and take care.